Try. I'm good. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my video. Just a second. It's not working. Can I just sign in again? Yeah. Yeah.
See if you can now, and if you can, then we can start from like a
Okay. I'm having some trouble because my video is still not working. So another option is to do this on Julieta's computer in case it's just I'm trying, let's see. It started, right? Okay, perfect. Do you well, we needed to share the screen so you see the presentation, no? You can, yeah, okay. Perfect. Okay, good. So as long as you can see my screen and I am controlling the presentation here. Okay, and you can hear me well, right? Because even if I read through most of it, you can hear me clear enough? Okay, good. Yeah. One thing I was actually wondering was the live stream isn't working, so I really have no image of the place. Maybe you can show me quickly. Can I have a look at how you? Yeah, but there's something wrong with the German server. It doesn't allow. Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. So, okay, okay. So I'll try via YouTube, but it basically says there's a rights issue in your country. Yeah. So,
something related to licensing. I'm trying to set up a VPN, but
yeah. Okay. Anyway, we'll try. I see something. Yeah. Okay. I think through YouTube it sort of starts. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, we'll wait. I'll just come online like 5 minutes before. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thanks. Thanks.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So we're getting a little bit of a late start, but hopefully everyone got a bit more coffee and was able to sleep in a little bit and get prepared. We've got a long day ahead of us, so yeah, I'll try to keep my introductory remarks short. We're just about to begin a Skype lecture with Natasha Ginwala, who is a curator who is based in Berlin, who unfortunately couldn't join us in person due to visa issues. So it's important to know that she was also the guest editor of the series in the Supercommunity on corruption, right? And maybe I'll mention just something that has to do with a little bit of a shift in the focus of the topics that we'll be dealing with today, where it actually is something that occurred to me yesterday when Kader was speaking, actually when he was mentioning the Matrix Reloaded, how there is something that, it seems that there is something that happened around, in the past few years maybe, since the revolutions that began in 2011 in the Middle East, in other parts of the world, the Occupy movement, there was something that happened, and I was remembering this with the figure of Neo in the Matrix, right, where you could say in the humanist tradition or in the liberal tradition, there was always an idea that freedom or some kind of an emancipation would come from removing power in a certain way, cutting the head off of the king or the Oedipal kind of drive to kill dad or to remove the dominant political force. But then something seems to have changed in the past few years, right? Which makes you start to wonder how things work in the technosphere, right? When power is networked, when it's spread out, when it becomes global, right? How does it work? And it was interesting when Kader was mentioning this second part of the matrix, because in the first part of the matrix, of course, you destroy the matrix and everything is done, and you can move on to the future in happily and in a carefree kind of way. But actually, in the second part, he starts to wonder whether he is actually produced by the system, right? So this is a kind of an interesting move where power is not so much something which is outside of you that you can destroy, but it actually works a bit more like a contagion, right? It's something that has already moved into your body. So to actually remove the power or to actually deal with the power, you start to have to ask yourself who you are and what what made you, right? So in the technosphere, of course, there's a long history of science fiction, also following this kind of Oedipal myth, right? It goes back to even like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, right? Where Frankenstein is considered to be like the first example of artificial intelligence or of a robot, right? And of course, we know all of the Hollywood films where always the iRobot and all of these films where any kind of artificial intelligence wants to be whole and wants to destroy its maker. But then when things work more like a contagion, you have to question everything. So this is a bit more how we are thinking about things today. So it's fitting that the day begins with Natasha Ginwala speaking about corruption, right? How does it work when power is networked? So I'll just to introduce Natasha's, I will read the short description of her talk. Corruption accesses the state body as both a natural and mystical corpus, eventually producing a third phantom body, corrosive and self-extending, emitting from an inside as techniques of social performance, bureaucratic desire, and conversion in the very terms of ethical life, a glistening mirror of false potential in a climate of communal ventriloquism. We are strategically held by this spirit without an image, which thrives in parasitic acts of emergence via disappearance. Rock fragments on an island coast disaggregate into plastic collectives, and meanwhile, factory robots kill their human producers. Corruption operates as a counter-historical project with its promise of emancipation, based in camouflage and in trickery, as we navigate across a blanket of depression where the production of fraud emanates as a totalizing scheme of the capitalist unconscious. So, I think we should have her on Skype now, and let's give Natasha a warm welcome. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'm sorry not to be with you today and yesterday. It feels like a very important 2-day gathering after such a large body of texts that have assembled. And as an editor of the series, I feel extremely privileged to be with this community and develop a sort of sociality that extends into various subjects that we're all deeply concerned with at this time. So the Corruption Everybody Knows series, as part of Supercommunity, treats corruption as a planetary subject. Its agency as subject as well as object is explored through writings dealing with the biological, the political, alchemical, and cinematic. The question of asking who and what is speaking with regard to corruption becomes an intrinsic task in reading its expansive trail disseminated across a spectrum of life conditions, from aspiration to exhaustion. And that is where we begin. But there is no end in sight. We are strategically held by this spirit without an image, which thrives in parasitic acts of emergence via disappearance. Where corruption is detected, it immediately mutates, goes underground, finds another passage or host body. At times, plays an epistemic game between major and minor players. It is through this consistency with which it rejects totalizing governance that a subversive potential of anti-systemic action and being may arise. I'm glad that within these 2 days, we also have programmed in Veets Kamas and Elizabeth Povinelli, who have been thinking corruption alongside me, and whose reflections would greatly add to my own forthcoming meanderings. As Brian briefly introduced, I'm interested in a very specific body in terms of corruption. The sovereign's body is deceptively split into the natural body, a limited apparatus, and a large state of abstraction, the body politic, which encapsulates the condition of sovereignty as a geocosmic whole tasked with the territorial governance, a corpus of subjects, and temporal stability. Hence, mortality and exhaustion, while associated with the ruler as a human protagonist, still relay the more than human power matrices of rulership as implanted in the mystic morphology of the kingdom or commonwealth as a higher ground. Here you have Hobbes' a Leviathan, and I'm sure it's an image that's recognizable where the body expands and you see the range of the territory, the landscape, and then the body of the king that's composed of the subjects. In medieval Europe, this prevailing notion of the two bodies permitted the continuity of monarchy even upon death of the monarch, pronounced in the formulation, "The king is dead, long live the king." The sovereign life of empire, caught up in this mind-body and life-death dialectic, was repurposed in the consciousness of Enlightenment rationality via the nation-state model to persist in maintaining social control over various aspects of communal existence. However, at the heart of this circuit of deception, transmitting a ruler's body into an organically immunized perpetuity, lies what I would argue to be a third body. One that does not inhabit either of these theological conceptions derived from Christian ideals of the corpus naturale and the corpus mysticum. Corruption, literally and symbolically, emanates as a third morphology, splicing their point of indivisibility. It is not presentable as a hard-edged empirical fact, but rather as a corporeal passage, that fragments the singular thrust of governing power, casting a shadow reality upon the surface of society and then dynamically percolating deeper. The bountiful perks of corrupt players are most effectively stalled, as we know, through inciting regimes of guilt and punishment. While the human animal's body as social construct becomes consistently trained in rhythmic acts of submission through diverse measures of penalty, those unleashed in the case of such vices are often the worst. Let us revisit Dante's circles of hell as a case in point. The ninth circle is represented by a frozen underworld lake called Cocytus, a sort of death valley frequented by whirlpools and oozing lament. Here, various classes of traitors coexist, having betrayed kindred, country, guests, and benefactors. It is believed that the heart of the traitor is the coldest heart of all. Living through an age of extremes, this cosmology of cold suffering intersects with climatic acceleration of the Anthropocene. As part of the dismal hole of punishment in the deepest zone of hell, there is the ultimate fear of being openly identified as the accused. Let us now move from the anatomy of the body politic into the poisoned body of the king's subject. Here is a miniature portrait of the dying Inayat Khan, a depiction dated to the 17th century Mughal period, when Emperor Jahangir caught sight of the rapidly eroding corpus of one of his close attendants, Inayat Khan. He was horrified. As the dying servant who had become addicted to opium and wine was requesting to be sent back home so that he may perish in less agony, the emperor decided that it was essential to first graphically plot this poisoned body and ordered one of his court painters to get on this task. So here we have the resulting portrait where Khan's frail body is more bone than flesh, propped up by large pillows, but sinking in spirit. While the body is memorialized as a depleted field of toxicity, in a tussle with mortality, the court painter strikingly captures the deadened gaze of his corrupted subject. This episode is described in Emperor Jahangir's biography, which also illustrates his other pursuits, his rich legacy as a cultural patron of flourishing ateliers, and under his regime, some of the most phenomenal miniature paintings were realized, detailing botanical specimens, hunting trips, the visits of royal emissaries, and war. However, the abject human, too, comes under scrutiny of the imperial order to document all that is strange and wondrous in this world. An intimacy between the contraband substance, opium, and human craving eventually forms a shared contour between the emperor and his attendant, as eventually the opium takes the life of both. Jean-Luc Godard has declared cinema is the most beautiful fraud in the world. We often forget that corruption is also cinematic. A scene that perfectly illustrates this revolutionary economy between the moving image and deception is the most famous breakfast scene in Eisenstein's battleship Potemkin, with the opening act entitled Men and Maggots. It is 1905 aboard the Potemkin, a vessel of the Imperial Russian Army's Black Sea Fleet. Machishenko and Vakulinchuk are the two sailors who begin to deliberate the need to support workers at the revolution's front lines from the battleship's lookout. Meanwhile, the crew is seen in a state of slumber within the lower decks. It is when rotten meat arrives on the scene that the brewing discontent gains a concrete dimension. The presence of worms is an organic signal reflecting that the crew is being regarded as lesser humans aboard the ship's cemeteries of power. The ship doctor, Smirnov, inspects the liveness of decayed matter as his pince-nez transforms into a magnifying glass, a sort of evil eye evaluating the borderline between the edible and the inedible. Instrumental in Potemkin's creation of propagandist shock reflexes is the close up. And here you see it. And the repetitive nature of discussion between whether the meat has worms, whether it has maggots, whether it's something that's live and that's going to corrupt the insides of the crew. This is critically deployed as much as montage in Eisenstein's practices of film construction. Though properly speaking, for him, this composition is not so much a close-up as it is a magnification, a large-scale shot to designate qualitative meaning, which in this case unites the individual and the social body in opposition to state authority. After this tipping point, the act of rebellion becomes a contagion as the resounding call of mutiny spreads forth from the crew in sea back into the land, with the Odessa step sequence. Eventually, Vakulinchuk's martyred body acts as a source of raw evidence of corruption, becoming marked thus, dead for a spoonful of soup. We are confronted with a gloved hand that is suspended mid-air and plotting something. We cannot be sure of its organic functions anymore because it has become a gravity-defying luminous mass. This hand is staged in a way that it is dislodged from a body, appearing as a magician's euphoric unveiling or as Adam Smith's invisible hand gone renegade to challenge a self-interested model of economics by representing an exuberant constellation of interior life and the body politic as deep space. Susanna M. Winterling's CGI video, which we will view today, Vertex, casts a bodily snapshot that moves beyond the surface pleasures of capitalist stimulation to consider the skin symbolically as a vulnerable organ. The lens probes a microscopic environment that sheds a deterministic perspective in favor of a polyvalent one. In epidermal memory, this artist recalls Chernobyl rain, stunted toxic beings, and bioluminescent creatures swarming like a membrane of keratinocyte cells. In this inside-out gaze, the skin's loss of haptic sensitivity is projected as a rupture in the physiological frontier between self and world, and thereby the inability to defend oneself from evil forces, bacterial, sexual, racial, and political. In this stealthy hand's repetitive gesture, where interlaced thumbs and fingers produce an infinity loop, there is also the rise of corruption as a non-event, providing for action but without the blatancy of confrontation. As the critic Jan Verwoerd has written in his recent essay Torn Together, which was part of the Supercommunity series, acts of corruption are elaborate disappearing tricks on the stage of common desire. They even out what should not cause ripples. Things go smoothly if what comes to pass happened as if it hadn't. In reading humanity's relation with the Earth's biosphere through registrations of corruption and anomaly, I would like to look at two more examples. The first being the sighting and identification of a new material along the Hawaiian beach coast. Loose rock formations comprising of basalt, shells, wood debris, sand, and melted plastic as a binding agent. Plastic glomerates, pictured here, are ungovernable subjects. They appear as extraterrestrial beings bringing us bodily facts on how the geological record is being impacted by human activity. It is the twin condition of organic familiarity with artifice, and in this sedimentary surface that makes it a viral presence, something that can impact the balance of elements in an environment and cause rupture from the inside. Setting up a new coagulation or assembly of materials, therefore, so as to change an ecology at a fundamental level. Keeping the plastiglomerate in mind, I would now like to connect with a recent accident that brought into proximity the current precarities between human relations with artificial intelligence and machinic bodies. Some months ago, at a Volkswagen factory in close to Frankfurt, a robot being programmed for assembly processes by a small team ended up acting out malevolently and crushing a 22-year-old worker to death. While this apparent killer robot erred on account of human imprecision, this episode may be observed metonymically as a reversed loop of machinic evolution, whereby post-industrial dystopia is activated in choreographies of human-machine dysfunctionality, performing as life threats in the daily pursuit of zombie capitalism. While there is an affinity in the industrially crafted bodies of the car as well as the robot, the illicit action of the robotic agent converts the terms of agreement between object and subject, as well as the producer and the means of production. Through a dramatic unmaking of the mechanized libido of the production unit, this proximity between artificial labor and the laboring human body become caught up in scenes of counterattack. Corruption is enacted here at the level of human consciousness, concerning the deeper crisis of individuation within a glitched system, where new forms of catastrophe await us. In conclusion, as we navigate across a blanket of depression where the production of fraud emanates as a totalizing scheme of the capitalist unconscious, corruption operates as a counter-historical project with a promise of emancipation embedded in camouflage and trickery. This is the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, known for delivering a right-wing anti-secular political agenda, posing with the Terracotta Army, which, as we know, is the largest funerary art that reveals the imperial logic of violence and power dynamics that continue in the afterlife. There is an alignment here between the necropolis of pottery figures and the emerging state of fascism in India lived through in the composition of Modi inspecting China's heritage warriors. When corruption occurs at the highest levels of governance, as a generalized decay of the body politic, it acquires a symbolic potency in delegitimizing the past as a radical questioning into the present, instead locking us into an exclusively delivered image of history. I now want to invite you to watch two short artist works by Hassan Khan and Susanna Winterling. I'm very glad again and grateful that the artists have agreed to be part of this section with me. Hassan Khan's film, I'll describe briefly. It's called The Dead Dog Speaks, and it explores a set of human and non-human protagonists who are presenting a game-like conversation scenario. They are animated icons, and yet they have this sort of deadpan way of stating themselves. There is no set hierarchy that one can actually trust because the voices continuously manipulate with their given identities, competing desires, and elective affinities. Neither coming nor going, they float as signs located in the extreme present, where there is no reconciliation towards a singular objective. Thank you for listening.
أنا
أنت مين؟ أنت
واقف هنا ليه؟
انت اللي واقفة هنا ليه؟
اوعوا أنت اللي توعى
إحنا هنيجي هنا.
لا أنا مش هاجي.
ما تروح بقى.
لا ما تجيش.
طب أنا اللي همشي.
ما تمشيش.
ليه لا؟
علشان كده.
يعني ايه؟
قصدك إيه؟
ما قصديش.
لا قصدك. طب خلاص قصدي.
هو في إيه؟
مفيش.
لا في.
أنت اللي فيه إيه؟
طب خلاص بقى.
خلاص إيه؟
يعني إيه؟
يعني زي ما قلنا إيه؟
انتوا اللي قلتوا.
وأنت كمان.
ما قالش من الأول.
أمال من إمتى؟
من دلوقتي.
لا من قبل كده بكتير.
بشوية. لا ده ما حصلش أصلا.
أمال إيه اللي حصل؟
ما حصلش حاجة.
لا حصل.
طب بس بقى.
بس ايه؟
أنت اللي
طب اوعي كده.
ما وعاش أنت اللي توعى.
طب ما تيجوا هنا انتوا الاتنين.
أنا ما باجيش، أنتوا اللي تيجوا.
انا مش هنا اصلا.
يعني إيه؟
انت مش فاهم حاجة اصلا.
أصل.
ما أصلش.
أمال إيه؟
زي ما بقولك كده.
بتقول إيه؟
يعني
ما يعنيش؟
أمال إيه؟
كده.
أيوة كده.
كده وخلاص.
كده.
هو كده إيه؟
تعالى كده. أنت اللي تيجي كده.
ما تروح أنت كده.
طب ما تيجوا انتوا الاتنين كده.
لا ما تروحوا انتوا هنا.
طب ما تلف كده الناحية دي.
أنا ما بلفش أصلا.
بص.
على إيه؟ هناك.
فين؟
هنا.
أو هنا.
لا هنا.
لا هناك.
هنا أو هناك مش فارقة.
لا فارقة.
دايما فارقة.
طب خلاص.
وانا كمان.
أنتم كلهم.
لا مش إحنا.
امال مين؟
انتم.
طب إيه؟ عاوزة إيه؟
انت اللي عاوز ايه؟
ما تمشوا خلاص.
خلاص.
ايه؟
نعم.
نعم إيه؟
هو في إيه؟
مالكم؟
ملناش.
انتوا اللي مالكم.
مفيش.
أمال إيه؟
ايه بقى ايه؟
ما بقاش.
لا بقى.
باقي كتير؟
قد إيه؟ مش هقول لكم. أمال هتقول إيه؟ ده ما بيقولش.
امال ايه؟
مفيش.
لا دايما في.
ساعات ما فيش.
وساعات في.
أيوة وساعات في.
وساعات ما فيش.
طب هتمشوا امتى؟
احنا ما بنمشيش.
بس ممكن تمشوا.
انا ما اقدرش.
أمال مين يقدر؟
محدش يقدر.
محدش يقدر.
محدش يقدر. طب أنا أقدر. ما تقدرش.
طب ورينا كده.
ما تورينا انت.
ما توروني انتوا الاتنين.
ما تقدرش تضحك علينا. لا يقدر.
ما اقدرش.
أمال مين اللي يقدر؟ أنا أقدر.
طب ما تورينا. اوعى.
ليه ما يوريناش؟
أنا أقدر بس مش هوريكم.
ليه؟ كده.
لا مش كده.
أمال ليه؟
علشان.
لا مش كده.
أمال إيه؟ ده بيضحك علينا.
لا انت اللي بتضحك علينا.
انت اللي بتضحكي علينا.
لا 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 أنت.
انا.
انت.
أنا.
انت.
انا.
مين؟
انتي. أنا؟ لا.
صح.
غلط.
صح.
لا.
ايوه.
لا.
صح.
غلط.
صح.
لا غلط. لا صح.
لا مش صح. غلط. مش غلط. صح. صح او غلط انا اللي صح.
لا ده انا اللي صح. ما حدش فيكم صح عشان انا اللي صح.
انت غلط.
أنتوا اللي غلط.
لا.
لا.
امال ايه؟
مفيش.
لا طبعا في.
طب خلاص.
انا.
وانا.
لا لا أنتوا تنسوا.
ننسى إيه؟
انا ما بنساش.
لا لازم تنسى.
مش هينسى.
مش هنسى.
تنسى إيه؟
مش هقولك.
ما تقوليش ليه.
انا ما بقولش.
أنت دايما بتقول. لا.
ماشي لو عجبكم خلاص.
عجبنا.
مش قوي. انت مش فاهمه.
ولا أنا برضه.
لا انت فاهم. كلنا فاهمين.
ماشي.
خلاص طب لو كده ما تقولوا.
يودا مش فاهم.
لا فاهم.
طبعا فاهم ومش موافق.
طب نعمل ايه علشان تفهم؟
ما انا فاهم.
ومش موافق.
صح بالظبط.
انت اللي مش فاهم.
لا ده فاهم كل حاجة. بالظبط.
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 Still on Skype, but we can give her a ceremonious. So I think now we'll take a short break, 15 minutes, and before we have Elizabeth Pavanelli presenting. So let's try to be kind of prompt, yeah, with 15 minutes. Thanks. Just a cigarette and coffee.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a very, very brief announcement. Just down the street from us, for our visitors from out of town, just one block that away is Paved Arts and AKA Artist Run, two artist run centers in town. And because we just had a billboard project installed on the front of our building, I wanted to invite everybody to, if you would like during the next break or when there's the next substantial break, to take a walk one block that away. We're showing a piece called Red Baby by Chenghua Catherine Dong. And I won't say anything more because I know that time is pressing. So thanks a lot.
Okay, so it's a real pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Pavanelli, who just flew, I think, on some kind of a horrific cocktail of 5 flights from Darwin in Australia here, and so it's really, she really went a long way to come here. So we all really appreciate that. So Elizabeth is a professor of anthropology at Columbia, but also she is also much more. And another thing very important thing that she does, she is a filmmaker together with a collective of filmmakers called the Caribbean, based in Australia. And so she'll be, after her lecture, she will screen this is very hard to pronounce, Winjarameru, the Stealing Cunts, which is from 2015. It's a 36-minute film. Just to introduce her lecture, Toxic Sovereignties, I think it's a very interesting thing to think about it, with the notion of contagion also after Natasha Ginwala's presentation. Riffing from Winjarameru, the Stealing Cunts, the Caribbean Film Collective's most recent film, this talk explores the cramped space of toxic sovereignty that the Caribbean are seeking to negotiate and represent. It focuses on the play between fiction and truth in the shadow of the slow corruption of country and people in late liberal Gianto power. In the dispersed contaminations of the extractive settler capitalism, no one can foresee what forms of existence can be held onto, which ones reshaped in this milieu, themselves included, in this small pocket of corruption. But the Caribbean play with the possibilities. Let's give a warm welcome to Beth Pavanelli.
Totally sexy. Yeah, we say Winjarameru, but it comes, we often hear Winjamaru, which we think is very sexy. Winjamaru, it's wrong, but it's sexy. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm very sorry I missed yesterday, which I heard was really stunning and amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you for about 25 minutes, and then we'll show the film. And I'm going to be speaking a lot about the film, which, there's the idea that you should look at something pure and not know what's going on before you see it, but that actually never happens. It would be interesting for all of us to think about when, if ever, you've seen a film that you didn't already know what it was about, which is an interesting thing. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about that. Okay, so instead, let me assert the following on the way to exploring the question of toxic sovereignties in late settler liberalism, which is a topic that is certainly relevant for the people whose lands we're standing on. This assertion is elaborated in a book that's fortunately now off my desk. And in a simple way, what the book asserts and what lies in the background of what I'm going to talk about today is simple. And the assertion is this, that for a long time, perhaps still now, many critical theorists and others have believed that Western Europe, at least, spawned and then spread globally a regime of power best described as biopolitics or biopower. And for those who know this term, or have worked with it, or have been taught it, or have encountered it, know what biopower entails, what it's meant to outline. That is, that liberal governance is a governance that works through life rather than over death. And so, for instance, biopower makes us live better, be more productive, and et cetera, and then just lets us die. And this is often contrasted with what's called sovereign power, that is, power which manifests itself by exercising its right to kill you, right, or let you live. And there's been a lot of debates on this, and I'm not going to talk about it today. Because the question that the book that is now fortunately off my desk explores or asks, the question it asks is whether this formation of power, that is biopower, is the power that we face today. Does the concept of biopower, in other words, give us the most productive analytic political concept to make sense of what is all around us, but which is only now maybe in the field of our vision? That is, in the meteorological age of climate change, the geological age of the Anthropocene, have we been so busy with the figures, with the twists and turns of the tactics of biopolitics that we haven't noticed that at its edges, we're beginning to see the braces that have been holding it in place are now giving away. And again, what the braces are in biopolitics is life and death. And what I think we're beginning to see now is the emergence of a new kind of power that I call geontopower or geontological power that doesn't work with the brackets or braces of life and death, but rather work with the brackets and braces of life and non-life. Not only things that have died, life that has died, but that which never had life at all, rocks, sand, although rocks and sand, most of the planet is made out of dead life. But what seems to be giving way or emerging now is a formation of power that's working through not the governance of life and the tactics of death, but through the maintenance of the self-evident distinction between life and non-life. And we really see this giving way even in the notion of, well, certainly in the notion of Gaia, in which the carbon cycle depends on every aspect of any mode of existence, that is, both silt and stone and water and various kinds of biotic life. Thus, if you look at the governance of the planet under the regime of climate change or the Anthropocene, suddenly life and death are a very minor player in a much more synthetic understanding of life and non-life. And matter of fact, what do we even do with these two categories, life and non-life, anymore? So that's, in a much more elaborate and complicated way, that's what I do with the book. And I also say, as we're coming to see that the drama isn't how we govern life and death, but how we govern the difference between things that we think are alive and things that we think don't have life, we're starting to see a wild proliferation of new concepts, models, figures, and tactics that are displacing the conceptual figures and tactics of biopower and necropower. So if you remember the figures, we all know them, of biopower, it's the Malthusian couple, it's two MCs, Malthusian couple and masturbating child. And on the other hand, what is it? The perverse adult and hysterical woman, right? Rather than these four figures or the figure of the colonial other, we're beginning to see three new figures emerging in geontopower. For the purpose of analytic explication, I cluster this proliferation of new figures and tactics and discourses around three figures, that is, the desert, the animist, and the virus. That is, these three figures are displacing the other four figures of biopower. Each of these figures provides a mechanism through which we can conceive of the once presupposed but now trembling architectures of geontopolitical governance. For instance, the desert, or the desert, maintains as a figure, and then a set of discourses. You don't actually have to use the word desert for it to be within this, of course. But the desert, as a figure, maintains the distinction between life and non-life. That is, the desert stands for all things perceived and conceived as denuded of life, and by implication, all things that could, with the correct deployment of technological expertise or proper stewardship, be made or remade hospitable to life. So the desert holds the two categories in place. Now, whereas the desert solves the problem of how we distinguish between life and non-life by foregrounding and maintaining the difference, the second figure, the animist, insists that a certain crisis about how we govern, can we govern rocks and animals differently because one is alive and one is non-life. The animist, as a figure in a discourse, insists that the difference between life and non-life isn't a problem, don't worry about it, because all forms of existence have within them a vital, animating, affecting force. Certain historical and social populations are charged with always having had this core knowledge, right? This core animist insight. And these populations are mainly located in settler colonies on these streets, that is, First Nations, indigenous people in Australia, in the Amazon, and et cetera. But the animist as this new figure, as what do we do in this world of climate change and the Anthropocene when we don't know how we govern a rock absolutely has to do with how we govern life, that is, it's inside life and life's inside of it. Also includes the recycling subject, right? So you are an animist when you recycle. It includes new paganism, actant-based science and technology studies, new vitalism, and certain ways of portraying and perceiving a variety of new cognitive subjects. Okay, so that's the second one. The final figure, the virus, is the figure for that which seeks to disrupt the current arrangements in life and non-life, not by claiming that difference is the difference that makes no difference. You can make it or not, but it makes no difference. That is, the virus takes advantage of the division between life and non-life as an occasion for copying, duplicating, lying dormant, and continually adjusting to, experimenting with, and testing the circumstances in which these divisions are happening. That is the space that's opened as we try and negotiate what's life, what's non-life, how do we govern the two. Now, in my ears, of course, the virus is always the radical hero, it's the delusive event, it's the monster that rises up as a potential otherwise to every actual arrangement of existence. But, of course, as we know from our critical theoretical friends, the virus also is a very specific way of thinking about truth in relation to the, quote, event. That is, the virus, if the virus is true, the virus is true because it's an event. And it's an event if and only if it disrupts radically our present arrangement of the senses, of our logics, of our affects, right? It is only event, and it is only true if it's an event. It's only an event if in the moment in which we see the virus, in which the virus emerges, it emerges as not only incomprehensible, but also monstrous to us. Because the more monstrous this event, the more eventful it is, and thus the more true it is. But the more true it is, the more eventful, the more, on the one hand, the more it's unlikely to survive its own birth. And that's why it's really important that, although for someone like me, I say, oh, I love the virus, but that's really got to be tempered by remembering that you can love the virus as an abstraction, but no one ever loves the virus as an actuality. Now, today, what I want to do, both in the rest of this and hopefully you'll see in the film, I want to elaborate what the virus looks and feels like from the cramped space of toxic sovereignty, as this cramped space is sketched by the Cotabing Film Collective. And I think it's especially important in the supercommunity discussion, and especially the discussion about corruption, because as we'll see, the cramped space of toxic sovereignty is a corrosive force in two different ways, and exactly around what a virus is. On the one hand, it's a space of corrosion, in a toxic sense, right? So we're going to see it's just a toxic corrosion, but also insofar as it is a toxic corrosion in materiality, in actual existence, it also corrodes and disrupts and makes viral what we understand sovereignty to be, or what the Katabing Indigenous Film Collective is trying to think about what sovereignty is now for Indigenous, for them. It also, I think, corrodes or corrupts how we think about the relationship between truth and genre in the film in particular. That is this fiction or nonfiction? Is it documentary, or is it Indigenous futurism? Okay, so a couple of things about the collective. The KFC is a collective of Indigenous men and women whose country stretches down the coast of Northwest Northern Territory and me. And that's where I just was, and so, woohoo, it's a little loopy. Okay, Windjita Muru, the film you're going to see, tells the story of a group of Indigenous men hiding in a chemically contaminated swamp after being falsely accused of stealing 2 cartons of beer, while all around them miners are wrecking and polluting their land. Alongside the 4 young accused men, the film casts Katabing members as 2 local Indigenous land and sea rangers, so people who are employed to look after the dreamings or totems in the country, 3 policemen, 2 middle managers of the Windjata Mining Corporation, whose slightly corny corporate logo is "We Dig You," and 2, we have very bad humor in our films, but anyways, and 2 by which I mean they're 2 Indigenous men who have like enormous amounts of fines, who are seemingly taking bribes from the miners to blast illegally. Now, so what is the film you're about to see? The question of genre has always haunted these films, and when we show them, people always say, is this fiction or nonfiction? Is this a documentary? Is it an expose? What is it? Indigenous futurism? In part because of this problem of genre is in part because of the way these films are scripted and acted. The stories arise from one or another idea of the collective membership. In this instance, the 4 young men came up with the core of the movie, and then they're shaped into a more general narrative. But the content and the scenes are pulled from everyday life. For example, as you'll see, when the corrupt miners ask the fictional local men how much they owe in police fines, the amounts 1,332 cents and 500 are true amounts. That is, remote Northern Australia is no different in this sense from the suburbs of Middle America, the black suburbs of Middle America, when it comes to the economy of cities and the practice of fines. And again, think here of Ferguson, or I'd be very curious what the economy of fining is here for, say, First Nations too. And the Northern Territory jails are hemorrhaging as Indigenous men and women are caught in a similar loop of being fined for low-scale quality of life infractions, not being able to pay off the fines, having warrants, not being able to go to courts, and ending up in jail. Many of the Katabing are on unemployment welfare or working at the extreme lower edge of the wage scale, so salaries range from $9,000 to maybe $25,000 a year, with most people at that lower scale. So 1,332 cents is a hell of a lot of money. Now, Windjata Mining Corporation, so part of that's true, right, that's the true part. So Windjata Mining Corporation is a figment of the Katabing's collective imagination, even as the fact of mining and its aftermaths are an intimate part of their everyday lives. The landscape some 20 kilometers south of where we shot the film is pocketed with old, mainly tin mines. Lee's Mine, Hangong Mine, Muggs Fine Mine, Jewelers Mine, Mammoth Mine, Kettle Mine, BP2 Mine. Just name a few of what it looks like about 50 to 56 mines there. And the film cites a court case, Aboriginal Areas Protection Authority versus OM Manganese, in which the Aboriginal Areas Protection Authority brought a suit against OM Manganese Ltd. For deliberately damaging an Indigenous sacred site, 2 women sitting down at its Bootu Creek manganese mine. Now, some of the Katabing say that this shouldn't have been a desecration, so they dug straight there. The the sacred site there, and the mining corporation just dug right at the edge of its borders until the whole thing collapsed. And it was a desecration case. Now, some of the Katabing say it should have been a murder case, but again, life, non-life. Can you have a murder case against non-life? But given that both the anthropological report and the legal judgment considered two women sitting down a geological formation represented by a human narrative, that is, life representing non-life, perhaps it goes without saying that the lawsuit wasn't prosecuted as manslaughter, attempted murder, or murder, but as a desecration under criminal liability law. Now, throughout the film, so the film you'll see is also maybe citing this, a case that is well known in the indigenous North. Throughout the film are other questions of genre and truth. There's numerous background signs to the main action of the film. There are two large branches that say "Stop Poison" painted on them. There's an old corrugated water tank with a placard attached stating "Warning Radiation." And there's a large sign at the turnoff to the swamp, of which the kids run into, written "Danger, asbestos, cancers and lung disease hazard, authorized personnel only, respirators and protective clothing are required at all times." Now, the first two signs, "Stop Poison" and "Radiation Area," we could say are fictional. They were created by the production design team, which just means all of us, but we love saying that, we're the production design team, and placed on or near already existing historical infrastructures. That is, the radiation area sign was put on a large corrugated water tank in the scene by the swamp. But the area is also home to a group of large concrete and metal structures from the Wagite Battery, built in 1944 to defend Darwin from Japanese air assaults in World War II. Some relatives working there remember that there might have been some question about radiation in the area. Now, the sign at the end of the road, and I'll come back to that, sign at the end of the road is located at the Charles Point Road, and again, you'll see it, leading to the antenna field and compound located at the far end of the Cox Peninsula. Now, this sign is indeed authentic and brings up some interesting issues regarding the radiation warning at this other beach. The antenna field and compound was built in 1942 after the Royal Australian Air Force commandeered American equipment. The antenna field was placed next to the older Charles Lighthouse that was previously a plantation that used forced indigenous labor. There's several interesting issues that have come out in more recently, and especially in the Cox Peninsula Remediation Project that was a federal Commonwealth report issued in December 2014 and submitted to the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Public Works. As the report notes, asbestos and highly toxic PCBs have been in the area for quite a long time. And in matter of fact, in both where we turn off, where we see the painted sign that says "Stop Poison," and where we shot the film, well, in the two spaces, not where we shot the film. Section 32 and 34, and both of them were built up during the war period. Now, the dry branches danger poison was placed under the fence line stretching along the second area, right? So you'll see a fence, you'll see a sign. The fence was stretched, we believe, that is the Katabing Film Collective believes, when when Radio Australia receiver station was built, and a number of concrete posts interrupt the more typical star picket construction. So again, you see. Now, as the remediation report details, this area is also severely contaminated, although you wouldn't know it unless you were on the main road. So there's a road that goes up, and then there's a sign similar to the one that's at the other end of the road. But in fact, if you're not on that road, all you encounter are these very ubiquitous barbed wire fences. There are no signs in the bush, so it stretches out into the bush and there's all these barbed wire fences. If one's driving on the numerous dirt roads that take one to various fishing, camping, and hunting sites that everybody in the Katabing Collective uses, one merely encounters these old barbed wire fences that are ubiquitous. And you wouldn't know that there was anything a problem with this country. And indeed, in the film, 3 police capture one of the Cotabang land rangers at this fence line and ask him whether the rangers painted and placed dangerous poison sign there, with a clear implication that this act constituted illegal signage, even though there's the official sign somewhere else. And when we emerged from shooting the scene, 2 non-fictional police confronted us, asking if we had illegally entered or altered signage in the area. Right? Then, in order to diffuse the situation, we introduced the real police to the fictional police and joked that if they left us alone, we'd include them in our next film. And everyone wants to be a film person, so that worked really well. Now, these genre questions and questions of production raise a set of issues that affect how I think we think about corruption, the corruption of truth, of sovereignty, and of toxicity, especially in the context of geontopower. We don't know what the level of potential contamination is in any of these sites. And we don't know how it's affecting adjacent spring water nearby. There was a national television report, that stated that water bores in the primarily European developed area, there's the one little section where white people live, seems to be okay because it's tested regularly. But nowhere else on the Cox Peninsula is the water tested, is the soil tested, et cetera, except on these designated areas. Thus, the contamination is not merely of so the contamination of indigenous people isn't known, right? And it's not, and for the Cotabang Film Collective, the question is not merely their own contamination. How is this asbestos, how are these PCPs leaking into what they're eating and not eating? But also, how is this contamination, how is the corrosion, the corruption of the landscape also affecting the ancestors, their ancestors who they believe are in the land, and the dreamings that are part and cause of the land. Now, as the remediation report notes, the primary occupants of the Cox Peninsula have been indigenous and still are, but and I'll just do this quickly, but these lands have never been tested and only are being tested now because a land claim happened over the area. It was won. There's a lot of negotiation because of how close it is to Darwin, and a settlement emerged in which half of the country will go to non-indigenous people. It's only at that point that the remediation project began. So, of course, you would have to ask not merely, and this is what Cotabang are pushing at too, not merely whose lives matter, obviously, but whether it's only life that matters. And again, they're thinking really about ancestors who are country and dreamings who are causal agents of country. The reason that both I and they, or we together, put such a pointed push on the obvious question about whose lives matter, but also about whether it's only life that matters, is that both the land and human lives are contained up in each other. And thus, the question of genre switches, not merely is this fiction or nonfiction, I mean, which one is it, but whether it's an expose or a function of indigenous futurism, like Afrofuturism, et cetera. If it was a strict documentary expose, the film would wrap itself around a number of troubling affairs, state of affairs in which indigenous men and women are hired to remove contaminants, exposing them to the harms harming them, in order for non-indigenous people to move into the area. For instance, you'll remember that the film includes 2 indigenous rangers, and they're the Cotabang Land and Sea Rangers. The Cotabang don't have a rangers program. There is a rangers program, nonetheless, on the Cox Peninsula, and they're the Kenby Rangers. It's a ranger group that arose in the wake of this successful land claim that led to the negotiation, that led to the final cleaning up of this contaminants because it seems other people were moving in. The rangers tended to bid for some of the $32 million allocated for the cleanup of Section 32, 34, and 41. That is, when this report went to Parliament, there were these sections, then they tendered bids. And according to the Northern Land Council that administers Indigenous ranger groups in the top ends, ranger groups provide a formalized structure for the transfer of traditional knowledge from old to young, as well as being a vehicle for the training and employment of young Aboriginal people working in remote areas. And if you look at the brochures, it's all these really young, healthy-looking Indigenous people pointing to beautiful, empty, pristine landscapes. But, in fact, over the years, ranger groups have been forced to compete for government contracts focused on environmental cleanups that are distinctly less savory, including the spraying of aggressive mimosa pigra with herbicides, including, I can't even say the herbicide, it's bad. Rangers are encouraged to accept these jobs and given protective suits nearly unlivable in the often hot, humid tropical conditions. Again, how one can demonstrate a causal connection between the cancers that have slayed many Indigenous relatives who worked in these chemical conditions and the chemicals themselves would take serious financial investment, right? Because how do you show any link between the 50, 60 mines in the area and any particular cancer? Because everybody's smoking, you see the corporations with a lot of money saying there's a correlation but no causal connection. In the case when the non-Indigenous, non-local head of the Kenby Rangers assigned one of the Indigenous rangers, an actual ranger, Rex Singh, we have two, Rex Edmonds, Rex Singh, who is the Kenby Ranger, to operate a large earth remover to get rid of these PCPs, Rex was reassured that, don't worry, proper protective garments would be provided to him. However, Rex had witnessed the deaths of several of his cousins who had worked with the herbicides to remove this mimosa and refused, right? He's refusing then to risk exposure. Rex was forced to resign or be fired by the Kenby Rangers. So it's just, right, you see. Clearly, the white head of the ranger group was looking for resources to pay his crew. But the irony is not lost to anyone. Those people who were left to inhabit the toxic fields made by others are given the job of removing them when those others want to come back into the landscape. But in the fact, the film doesn't directly engage any of these factual issues. Instead, it raises questions about the state of Indigenous sovereignty in the toxic present and future. Two scenes hammer this home, I think, and I'm going to mention them. I'm not going to go over them, I just want you to remember them. The one occurs in the chemically contaminated swamp when two of the young guys are worried about whether the police are going to raid the swamp and grab them. And one turns to the other and says, don't worry, they won't come in here. And then the answer why they won't come in here, just pay attention to that one. And the second has to do with a set of hallucinations or visitations by ancestors to these young men in that same swamp area. The reason I want for us to really focus on, I'm not going to tell you, I've written about it, but let something be a surprise, is that the exchange between life and non-life, between what's now a sovereign space for Indigenous men and women, and what's an unlivable space for Indigenous men and women, are exactly where the concept of toxic sovereignty as a virus emerges, is dwelled on, and thought about. It's a paradox of being at home and being excluded from home, finding a place in which settler colonialism will not or will no longer extend itself, and then trying to find a way of inhabiting that space. Thank you.
No? It's not blocking your view.
Archive tape 4732 from the research collection of Dr. Alice Moyle, RA9. These are recordings made for the ABC in 1948 by Colin Simpson.
Australian Walkabout, the ABC's Tuesday night feature program. And tonight, we bring you one of the strangest and most dramatic aspects of life in this wide land of ours, introduced by Colin Simpson, who witnessed and secured recordings of a remarkable ceremony at Delisaville Aboriginal settlement, which is in the Northern Territory near Darwin. You will hear the ceremony introduced with an Aboriginal corroboree rhythm and the didgeridoo.
The uncle is moving around, beating himself on the head and sobbing. The husband What? Nobody. Nothing. Can't you look on the bush everywhere? Cameron, come drink a remote. You right? Right here. Show me. 6 pack. Nah. Yeah, you're 6 pack. Yeah, look that. Bartender, someone can ja. Hurry up, you thirsty, Rija?
Where you reckon the beer come from this up?
Huh?
They must have got to put it in the ASCII.
Nobody will stop there.
Nobody would camp there.
True. And don't you get sick from drinking that thing?
You still bring him
Still drink it. You still drink hot beer?
Wow. Well, lost problem long way.
Yeah. Yeah. Smoke? Smoke. Smoke.
What am they doing here? What am get suspended or?
Yeah, I'm suspended. Quite better.
Yeah, when we go Perling, me, Ryan, Dion, Lloyd, and one other bloke singing from TV. Yeah.
Holy moly. What's your girlfriend name? I'm too hard, I can't pronounce that name now. And what about your girlfriend? You got a little mercy on girlfriend.
You know, street park you with me, Sammy?
Nah, I haven't been a street park.
Yeah, that's for real.
Rick, MJ, you been get expelled? You're a big man now.
Nah, I'm underage.
I'm shipped, yeah.
Thing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reggie, what for you been wet that house?
Yeah. What story?
I've always watching there now.
What you? Betul for what?
Too many rum or what, Reggie?
Huh?
I've made dinner.
I don't want to ring my payment bill.
Come on. You know, go cool, then it would say.
Yeah. August.
Oh, you get locked up now,
Yeah.
Hope you get locked up.
Hey, you pessimin me, ja.
You're right. Well, every man for themselves, you know.
Cameron. Yeah. You better come here. See this? Come here, move. Yeah. Hurry up. See this in here?
Cameron.
Come here. You've been watching the road all day. Come here. You must be dehydrated. Come on.
Sorry, you're a drink freedom of information. You have done to drink your dream in here.
Cameron. See this? Cameron.
Hey!
What's up with Kenny?
Who's the boss is taking look here? I can't. Hey, what are you talking about, Kenny? Reggie!
I don't know why Cameron didn't tell us the sacred site was here. Maybe we should drink it somewhere else.
Too late. We would down in one box coffee. I'm looking to my father, that Cameron. Yeah, I'm there on the cliffside. Big circle and pentamet. That's my father.
What that pentamet there?
Big circle, run one. I know what that circle. Hey, him got him job him one way. I don't follow. That shit should be there. Got your father. He be kind of cracking you go. Eh? And McKinney. Hey, come on. Shut. Hey! Stop it! Stop it, yeah. I spell blasting. B L A S T. Ah, is that right? Right. No, it was right. Hey, understand that sign there. Hey, people when they walk past, they look at the sign when they come for fishing or something. Hey! Oh, shit! What are the premium over there? You must get ready. Get ready. You better get me a fucking fish. Calvin! Calvin! Let's talk about beer here. We're not painting beer here. Fucking fish there, look. Right there! Oh, shit! Hold the fish here and go down now. Hold the coffee. Yeah, black man. For shit. Fuck him up. Call him up. No, wait. I remember his name again. Yeah. Fuck up. Fuck him up. Call the cop. Why you would try?
Can hold 795 inmates. It's now just short of that.
Our kitchen services are stretched to the limits. Our laundries are stretched to the limits.
What you gonna do with that money if you get it?
Oh, I gotta try and buy a bloody trip carrier. I need one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to buy that bloody boat too. That big boat. Try to buy it.
Fucking hell. Hey, that you reckon that too finished down there or what?
I don't know. Yeah, no, look much at the phone on my pad. Hello. Wow, what you gonna bloody do now?
Oh, fuck, they're gonna fucking bloody thing now.
Oh yeah, quick, put him in your bloody uniform when he get out of here.
Whoa.
Hey, what's that?
You make it run. I don't want to run. I'm sick of running.
Did you rangers put that there?
No.
Hey, who's going in there?
You two gonna go in?
No, I'm not going in there. Poison country.
You decided you get the big box, you should go in.
You two go in.
No. No, you're right. You can go in there, mate. Federation. Don't go too far. I'm taking him into the car now. Lock him up.
You think it's right?
Yes, I think it's right. Don't go more further.
Oh shit. What I'm gonna do? You two will take him back like Murray Canal, meet him at this like swamp.
Yep, that's it. Jojo and the thing there. And what them up kicker and you like a toy there.
Hi, what name? Look at the Jojo too. Yeah.
Siri, you go sing.
Make a phone call.
Any number, get him any number.
Number to call.
Any number, try ring him up.
What's that number?
I don't know. Try Natasha.
Yeah, please bring them up. Say, they're looking for Cameron and thing that Jojo up. Yeah.
Well, I try to tell him, Gigi. Gigi, where Jojo? What? Jojo, the office. What they're eating? What's the Cameron?
They're looking for Cameron and thing that Jojo up.
Any number, trust him. Like, let's test you what trust him done up there. Jojo? Yeah. Right. Right. Trust him done up there. Any number.
Nothing, mommy. No signal.
Mấy cái bữa chụp thấp. Run the door in the world. Hurry up, Dorothy! Please go there. Please ring him up like Cameron here. I thought I was sending him like who's fine, but mine is map. He said, what have you do that Cameron?
That ring up there là school là bảo thing but you mà bên mà Cam boy na.
What's that Cameron?
I don't know what the things. They got what is it?
I don't know. That's that policeman rang you looking for you.
Cam boy, I don't want to be Maria.
Come on now. You go push him there. Hurry up, you must Cameron, you must push him to Murika.
Hurry up, you must push him up. Hurry up, push him. Wait that.
Wako inu la khamre. Sir, you get dust there, Nico. Sir, I try. Fuck. Shut up. Yeah. Two.
How many?
Two. That thing, Chevy, what a name now? What a name? Sharon.
Cameron, there with me?
Cameron, there. Yeah, I'm there. Aurelia, Dora, Cameron,
Manuma.
Manimo, Dara. Fuck. Mo yan kami ting belawi. Who idea about smoke that we can. You know, my dear. Yeah, you know. Should be you, should do man. Will you buy?
Hey, if I get that boat, we'll go fishing at this creek or what?
When we get paid.
Trevor, how much you owe you? Fine.
1,332 cents.
How much you owe, Daryl?
500.
And you would ring the police up there, what for?
Some little shit trade and chocolate beer can let me. Well, painting.
They're gonna find it in the bloody thing. Very find it with mining there.
You are over.
Trevor, when you're drunk, you got big mouth.
Right, now,
You reckon a good fishing area here?
Nah, with all this mining around here, I don't trust eating this food. Might come out with 2 heads.
It's only with 32 degrees. In fact, if you ask me what was going to happen on the 29th of July in 2050,
that's inevitable. And asteroids are an essential part of that transition. Okay, well, this group plan.
It's not backing down on its decision to restrict visiting hours at Darwin's bureaucratic weekends only. The government says the restrictions will allow visitors to focus more on education and rehabilitation. But welfare groups are worried that prisoners won't be able to receive the 2 visit period.
Hey! Community Murka, yeah, you look there. This is the family in the look. They're going to Tijimen there. Community Murka. There was a big fight there, that's very interesting. From a community man.
Yeah, you know the communal.
Who fight better here? Who does formula?
Oh, come on, what have we got to sort out now? Same thing, I'm not looking forward to it.
Okay, you might be all gonna sort this thing out.
Definitely.
Where's all my kids? Where's my kids? Where's my
Look, big
kids?
dust there, yeah.
My children, where? Where my kids?
Why the one that put the mango buck bother?
I want my grandchildren back right here. My name is Daphne. I want my kids.
You have to check out my beer like me and you have to run
I
door
just
on the
want my
bush.
kids. I just want my children.
They're chilling bed light, they're chilling bed light. You look at the road. Come on, illegal, they're chilling bed light.
Asking for big trouble now.
I would tell him you blagoon. Spoil all it and mine is not.
I did went with them boys collecting me.
But where they will go? You tell me where. Which place they will go at? Which one?
I can't be.
You can point him, point him. What you got him?
I got this thing.
Stay here. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I'm really angry about my grandchildren.
Hey, back away from the car.
Throwing cans at me.
What were you doing?
My name told me. I can't tell you. Bloody idiot.
I'm his grandma and this is grandpa. He was in a Boris.
Husband and wife or your brother or
Brothers,
sister?
sisters.
Was there any vandalizing going on?
No, we don't know.
Grandpa.
Well, are you definitely...
I just want my
Daphne,
kid.
you have to check out my beer like me and you have to run door on the bush.
Seriously? Oh, what? Hey, you guys, how many people there? Huh?
Please, so man, one. Please, man. No.
You been bringing your rum?
I'm drinking rum and Red Bull. I just gonna drink my life away again here,
Yeah. Anyway, where's RJ? They're looking for him now.
What we do? Oh.
You boys, you must have him poison swamp here in radiation area, yeah?
He will come for me, look. I'm gonna bring him back. Poison.
What we drinking with the poison tea? Yeah.
Drink.
Finish, don't drink it. Smell it.
Yeah, listen, it stinks like it is all bad thing. RJ, bring him back. You're gonna get very sick, end up low down hospital. Now all people would say that thing in the color red one and the dark red purple color.
Supposed to be dark red that beer. The moon. Green one must be red one. It's coming for nothing but poison. Now you're gonna get sick. That's what that. Marky, the moon drinking that you're gonna get sick. I'm telling you now, you're gonna get sick. Kevin, bottom of drinking, you're gonna get sick. And I'm not lying.
MJ. They're not gonna lock the easy. You right, you got clean record. You can come back and move like.
Rupert you still that light. Yeah, Rupert you
Like you must do a mob, you must been stealing.
You have been stealing, Kitty?
Who been living that Buddha de la bush?
Go on, fuck off from here. Little boys and little girls, get!
Hello, excuse me. Hello. I'm here to talk to some people about a case to do with 4 boys.
Yeah, I'm the grandmother for the 4 boys.
Right.
They're hiding in the bush at the moment. I sent Cameron there to keep an eye on that country, but that's where they saw the mine is right there at that point. I'm just worried about the boys, me and my 4 grandchildren. But I'm worried for the boys. They should be here with me.
Could you tell them that I just need to do one at a time?
But I just worry about my boys, 4 boys. They're concerned about our land, our country.
Right.
Look after it. Cameron, they've been going on mining, but let his 4 boys come back. Right there at that point. But I just worry about my boys, 4 boys. They're in the bush, got poison. The miners.
Can you help me understand here? What are they saying?
She's saying they might have put a trap there.
Yeah, they are.
What? I don't quite understand. Why would the miners be setting a trap for the boys using beer? I feel like what you're saying is really important, but I need to just do it step by step. What was this place? Yeah. Your people in?
Yeah, there are a lot of people here.
A lot of different people. Yeah. Around here.
Yeah.
Kidding me?
Yeah. Those people, they reckon they're still here. I need the spirit, I think, walking around here.
Black, yellow, red, from my feet to my head, fight till the fight is over. That's what my elders said. Stand firm through the blood, sweat, and tears that we shed. So when the revolution comes, we gon' be prepared. I'm a survivor, you can't stop me from rising. Black family born raised for my people, I'm riding. They televise propaganda, media stay lying. Ain't you know that's like trying to stop the sun from shining.
Where'd you buy in there? Parang that friggin' bottle or what? Nah, in front of me, I'm drunk. Imam, when you give up or what? We're just gonna go outside. Oh, no fucking way, not me.
Giving up.
Reggie Pie, you wanna get locked up?
Yeah.
Reggie Boy, no. I mean, up in jail. Reggie Boy up in there until Burma.
Yeah.
At least we should all give up, no? No, I'm not.
No, I'm not giving up, me.
Tell him glass one inside. Tell him, you mean inside there.
Call it.
And the radio, you go, wound camera, run there, get on you there, look here. You don't want to go to this one that call it fish tank. Fish tank, you know good? Don't ever go there. So God. Show me that thing, what kind of, I will stop that Burma, I'll sketch it up for you. You just throw it up, Wow, I will stop it here first, hello. And then sell the doorway, another one sell back this way, and shower and pull it. And lime like a little big square one in the middle. I'm going to stop it right there, another sell back this way. And there one, well, me I'll stop at one bed in here, another one there, and the toilet right there, toilet there. And go back this way, one bed there, and that bar, another little room this way, little room there, another bed there, television again. Bit bad, I think. Then they leave you like one dark cell if you proper mental but white bed, but like prison officer. And you'll be get that put in one dark cell yourself never for one whole day then. It's okay, we're safe. Yeah. We're inside the radiation area. Policemen won't come in here. We're safe.
I'm not gonna die, yeah.
People will die here before. We can die after. See this bottle? Here for long time from by our grandfather. Yeah. By our lips here. Lips here, they have a kiss by this bottle. All the one. Fill them up with water, bowl of salt, and walk around back. All people everywhere. All of wood and it. Spirit bowl still roam around here. Yeah, give us a sign. Anything. With them. Policemen outside bothering us all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, larwa. Larwa.
Hey!
Really? No, we see the larwa goមកpolicemen come out now here. look for the money I got. Well, one bed that building. All the money is cylinder or nobody there. For me, one bed upside there. For me, one bed there. Yeah. You can look, Marco.
Get up.
The one bed that going out.
Get up. Come on, get up.
Nobody there. And there I can look. You look there. I must sit up for Get up. Why? Let's go. Better than getting worse in the bush, yeah?
Try and round up and frighten or shepherd the wingmalang or malignant spirits into the man who is laying under the gifts and flows. The reason of this is that the spirits or wingmalangs are now aware that it is an old man that they have gone into, and therefore they want to leave him because an old man is of no use to them.
The malignant spirits, forced to leave the dead woman's clothes when the clothes were burnt, flew into the gift materials and, finding a man in the midst of the gifts, transferred themselves to him. But he's an old man, he'll die soon anyway. And they can't get out because they're being kept in the old man by the magic gestures of Mosek.
What happened to this place?
Only little wave been come, little one.
Very big one.
What's a big one? Only little one wave just come.
But you feel that this ritual must be allowed to go on. You don't want to stop it.
No. If I don't allow it here, they will still hold the ritual, but they will go into the bush to hold it, and there will be no restraint on them there. We think it better to allow it here where we can have some control of it.
You have been listening to an ABC Australian walkabout feature, Death Flight for Mother Lung by Colin Simpson.
Yeah, it's a big award that they were nominated for.
Yeah, sorry. They were having a debate, and I had to go listen to it. I don't know if questions or not. Tell us about the award. The award is what? The award?
Sorry. I'm happy to also talk about, obviously, talk about the film if you'd like, how we make it and stuff. The award we just won, there's this project called the Visible Project, and it nominates, it's curator nominated primarily, but there's also self-nomination, and it's a €25,000 Euro prize for projects that try and connect art and politics. And it's an interesting and innovative format. So they just, there's a selection process of the short list, and then a public parliament was held in Liverpool with the selection committee. And they've been debating the projects, and they're great projects, all of them. The 9 of them are amazing. So anyways, they just Skyped. So that's what we want. Yay! So I have to call home and tell everybody. Yeah. So anyways, I'm happy to, or we could go eat lunch, either way. This is the second 35-minute film we've made.
We'll have a chance also later on, around after Matteo Pasquinelli's talk, all the speakers who are still present can gather together on stage and take questions collectively. So I think maybe, now why don't we break for lunch and come back here about 1.